Details questions. Let's move on to the next type of the questions that you will have in the listening section. And this is the most common type of the questions you will have. Details questions are the majority of all the questions that you will have. Same as in the reading, okay? The key to success here is paraphrasing. So here you will need the second TOEFL skill, paraphrasing, because every time they want to create the right answer choice, they will take some words from your listening passage and they rephrase it. They change it to the synonyms and they put it there. But every time they want to create a wrong answer choice, they will take all the words from the listening passage and they will put them right there with a little mistake. So that you kind of like, I heard it. Yeah, I remember that. And you pick the wrong answer. So the test makers are terrible people. So they always want to make your life harder. That is why in the details questions, we always need to paraphrase. If we heard something, make sure that you were able to paraphrase it and that you are picking the answer choice, which was a rephrase of what you heard, okay? Be very careful about the answer choices, which just completely take something from the listening section. It's not as crazy as in the reading passage, but still, very often the right answer choice is just a quote from the listening passage which was rephrased. So pay attention to that and always look at the answers which was a rephrasing of something that you had. Okay, so let's look at the example about paraphrasing in the listening section. Let's look at that dialogue. I will try to read it with different voices so that you know who's man, who's woman, who's speaking. So, what did you do over the summer, Donna? Mostly, I helped my father in his clothing store. I can't imagine you selling clothes. I didn't. Remember, I'm studying accounting. I helped him with the bookkeeping. Also, I put price tags on the new clothes and designed the window displays. Okay, so this is a dialogue. And then we have a question. What did Donna do over the summer? We have 4 answer choices. She helped her father do the accounting. She sold clothes in her father's store. She displayed prices in the windows. She designed new clothes. What do you think is the right answer? So in the dialogue, we had these phrases. I helped my father. I helped him with the bookkeeping. So she helped her father with the bookkeeping. And of course, we don't have such answer among our answer choices. We just have one rephrasing of that, which is, of course, the first answer choice. She helped her father do the accounting. Accounting and bookkeeping are synonyms, so it's the same thing. But of course, they wanted to rephrase it so that it's not so easy for you. And then let's look at the other answer choices. For example, she sold clothes in her father's store. So we see they suggest that she was selling clothes in the father's store. And of course, we had it. We had these words in the listening passage. Father in his clothing store selling clothes. Yeah, they were talking about it. It just wasn't the truth, right? The guy said that he cannot imagine her selling clothes, and she said, no, I didn't do that. Like, it's a wrong assumption. That wasn't what I did. So that is why it's very easy for you to kind of mistakenly pick the B answer choice because you heard it. If you missed something, then you're picking something that you heard. And they're trying to make an answer choice very attractive in this way. Let's look at the different answer choice, number C, displayed prices in the windows. And again, we had these words, we had these exact terms. Price and window displays, right? Displayed prices in the windows, I put price tags and designed the window displays. So this was not what she was doing. She wasn't displaying prices in the windows. She was working with price tags and she also was designing window displays. So these were 2 completely different things. They were kind of close to each other during the listening, and so they're using the same words, just in a different context. So again, it's a pretty easy answer choice to mistakenly choose. She designed new clothes. Again, we have it here. I put price tags on the new clothes and designed. New clothes and design, the window displays. So you see, new clothes designed very, very close to each other, but they're actually from completely 2 different things, and this was not what she was doing. So again, this is an answer choice which completely repeats what you heard in the listening, but in a wrong context. So always look for an answer choice which does some of the rephrasing, and always try to be very careful about those answer choices which don't do any rephrasing, which just repeat everything that you heard in a little bit different order with a little bit of mistakes. Okay? Let's go next, and the next topic we're going to discuss about the details questions are the negatives. So the negatives is a question type when you have a negative word such as not or except, right? So it's very important for you to pay attention to that word. Thankfully, the test makers, at least here, do it pretty obvious. They actually put those negative words in caps. They use capital letters, N-O-T, it's all capital. So it's pretty noticeable that we have a not, we have a negative in here. But even though it's capital letters, for a lot of people it just still looks unnoticeable. They still forget about that not. And then they read the question very quickly, and then they pick the answer which is wrong because they're choosing things that they heard. And the question is asking us about a thing that you didn't hear. So that is why it's very important to pay attention to this negative, to this not, and then while you're looking at the answer choices, pick the one which you didn't hear. Or you heard, but it wasn't the answer to the question, right? For example, which of the following did the professor not mention when speaking about brainwashing? Perhaps the professor devoted the first part of the lecture to brainwashing, and then some part of the lecture to something else, right? And so 3 terms were about brainwashing, and just 1 term was also in that lecture, but much later, and wasn't connected to brainwashing, okay? So they're again tricking you, they're trying to play with you. So you need to not only notice that negative not, right? We're trying to find the answer choice which is not about the brainwashing, but also they're asking you about this specific question, right? You also need to pay attention to what they're asking. What are they asking about? Okay, we need to find the term which wasn't used in connection to brainwashing. Maybe it was used later. Maybe it was used in another context, but it wasn't about brainwashing. So pay attention to the negatives and always, always, always read the question very carefully, because sometimes it was all there in the listening passage, but just not what is asked in the question. Okay, and of course, read questions very carefully when it comes to the charts. It's just a general rule, like read questions carefully all the time. It's very important. And specifically, when you're doing the chart questions. We already discussed that example about pigeon training. So you had all of that discussed in the lecture. They talked about all those steps, but we need to pick those which were steps in the process of pigeon training, although everything was discussed. So read the question very carefully, because you're asked for a specific thing. You're not asked, pick anything you heard, at least somehow, right? You're asked, okay, we know you heard all of it. Pick those which are connected to those, blah, blah, blah. So they're asking you a specific question, so you need to answer it carefully. And in order to answer it carefully, you need to read it carefully and understand it. So pay attention to those things, and they will help you nail the details questions. But what else helps you to nail the details questions? Of course, a lot of practice. And that is why we included a lot of exercises for you to practice your details questions. So go ahead, do all these exercises, and then the majority of the listening questions will be fine for you. Thanks for watching.